How do? Sad one, this. A few people have messaged me about this. It's not a million miles from us. Just going to read a short article and I'm going to give you my views. Huddersfield stabbing. Victim 15, named as Khayri Mclean. 16-year-old boy was arrested on suspicion of murder at around 5 a.m. on Thursday. A 15-year-old boy stabbed to death outside his school in Huddersfield has been named locally as Khayri Mclean. On Wednesday night, West Yorkshire Police launched a murder inquiry when the teenager died hours after being attacked close to the entrance of North Huddersfield Trust School, brackets NHTS. A 16-year-old boy was arrested on suspicion of murder at around 5 a.m. on Thursday when the police attended an address in Huddersfield. The spokesman for the force said he remains in custody and inquiries are ongoing, led by detectives from West Yorkshire Police Homicide and Major Enquiry Team. It is believed the schoolboy was attacked at around 2:45. After receiving first aid at the scene, he was rushed to Leeds General Infirmary, where he underwent emergency surgery. Visiting the scene of the attack on Thursday, the mother of the victim's girlfriend said her daughter had described him as the perfect boy. Leaving flowers at the scene, Sharon James said her 16-year-old daughter, Cheyenne, had been seeing Khayri for around 8 months. The 35-year-old said the pair were literally inseparable, adding he was her first proper boyfriend. She absolutely adored him and he absolutely adored her. Ms James said Khayri had messaged Cheyenne short before the incident saying he had had a good day at school and couldn't wait to see her. She added her friend phoned her within minutes, say he had been hurt and was bleeding. I drove straight round, parked to the top, ran down. His mum was there and some of the teachers. I got on the floor with them and held his hand. I was telling him to wait for Cheyenne. Cheyenne has also launched a GoFundMe page to raise money for his family. Andrew Fell, the NHTS head teacher, said the school had lost a wonderful student from our community. In a statement, he said, "This is truly shocking news for our pupils. Your children and our staff will be finding specialist support among our community for those who feel they could benefit. West Yorkshire Police have launched an urgent investigation, so it would be inappropriate to make any further comment at this time. I would urge everyone not to engage in speculation about possible causes or perpetrators and allow the police to make their inquiries." A statement has been released. Our deepest sympathies go to the pupils, family and friends who must feel as we do, completely devastated. They have lost a loved one and we have lost a wonderful student from our community. Detective Superintendent Mark Bowles, the senior investigating officer, said the police had identified a number of witnesses to the incident. Our investigation is still at a very early stage and we will be carrying out extensive inquiries and establish the full circumstances surrounding this incident that has resulted in the absolutely senseless loss of a young life, he added. We recognise that an incident of this nature will cause understandable shock and concern in the community and we are working closely alongside our colleagues at Kirklees District who are increasing their presence in the area to reassure people and keep them updated as our investigation progresses. We've already identified a number of witnesses to the incident itself, but would still like to hear from anyone who has any information that could assist. Right, there's loads of articles about this. I think one of the most disturbing sentences in any of them articles is the lad was pinned down and stabbed. I'm going to go onto the field with Stephen and give a few thoughts on this, but for me, this needs either an individual with a presence and, you know, who people will listen to. A lot of us can remember Live Aid and Bob Geldof. Bob Geldof brought together, you know, the pop world, as it were, for a massive concert to raise money for people who were starving. Yeah, it must have taken a massive amount of effort and organising, but he pulled it off. It needs something like that. It needs something maybe with everybody on board. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about politicians, people of influence, maybe footballers, pop stars, you know, the whole 9 yards. It's happening everywhere, this. We're not hearing about them all. There is a guy I follow on Twitter, he's an ex-London bobby, and he posts about this pretty much daily, you know, more and more stabbings, 2 and 3 at a time, and they're all youths, they're all young people who are dying. I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you on the field. There's the boy, how do? Early morning, this way. Come on, kid. First day I've wore a top, this, cool this morning. So the first part of this video, shocking really. I did it a couple of 3 days ago. Thought process starts with this knife crime. You see, that crime will affect that area, that school, family, friends. Yeah, people might hear about it, but you know, it's almost like people are becoming, it's just commonplace. Like I say, the copper who I follow on Twitter, he's a good man. You know, I would imagine he was an old school bobby, and he's posting daily about these knife attacks, people getting stabbed. Early last week, a couple of 3 days before that very sad incident, there was a video on social media. I'm not sure it made the papers or TV or anything, but again, Huddersfield, and it's anywhere, it's not just Huddersfield, I'm not picking on Huddersfield. Middle of the day, main street, busy. Hoodie, guy in a hoodie, yeah? You can't see these guys' faces. Pulls out a long bladed weapon, it might have been a machete, approaches someone and hacks him in the arm. I think he definitely hit him. Yeah, church bells ringing, could be anywhere. When I was a kid, over 50 years ago, there was a campaign aimed at saving kids' lives. Those of you of a certain age will remember the Green Cross Code. Yeah? First, find a safe place to cross. Stand on the pavement near the curb, look all around for traffic and listen, and it goes on. And it was directed at kids, saving kids getting knocked down, going to and from school. No school run then, guys. You know, after a certain age, you're on your own. We were going to school. It worked. I remember the Green Cross man coming into our school. You know, looked like a superhero. Green and white. It was on adverts. TV adverts. Billboard posters. Yeah, it was drilled into your head. It was about saving kids' lives, and knife crime right now, that's what it's about. It needs to be something national. And like I say, at the minute, to me, it's just, it's nothing. There's no like social, moral outrage or anything like that. No protesting. Should be protests everywhere. You know, cities, towns and the like. And everyone needs to be on board to make it work. Again, I'm not picking on Ipswich. Last week there were a meeting, big meeting, multi-agencies, the councils, whoever were there anyway, and the local council, which I believe were Conservative, and this isn't about Conservative or Labour being right. They're all the same, they all piss in the same pot, them people. Suggested a strategy across the board in Ipswich. They have got a problem like everyone else with knife crime, and the Labour Party voted it down. Why would you vote something like that down? This happens all the time. We know it does in Parliament, but this is a big thing. It needs to be national. It needs to, you know, it needs to be frowned upon. People need to be talking about it. It needs to be in schools. Yeah. When I've talked about educating people, kids in schools, you know, some people go off on one. They're getting educated. They might be getting educated. They're not prepared for what's happening. I go back to when I lived in Salford, Little Alton. There was about half a dozen troublemakers. Stevie, half a dozen troublemakers. Yeah, a couple of lasses, 4 lads. All together, probably a little group of anywhere between 15 and 30 at any one time. But these 6, you know, I didn't know the names, but you know they are. Breaking mirrors off cars, and I don't mean 1 or 2, I mean streets full. Throwing bottles, bricks at people's houses and the like. Anyway, I confronted them one night. We lived in Masonettes in Little Alton. Anyone who lives there will know, on the precinct. Lived above City West housing. You had a terrace, so your house was sort of set back from the pavement. Anyway, bricks, bottles coming up, so I went down. 20 kids, lads and lasses, 10 to 16. 2 of these who I knew, yeah, produced blades, 13-year-olds, there or thereabouts. Paring knives, a vegetable knife. Had words. I explained to them that I knew who they were. I used to see them on their own regular, which I did. And I would have words with them when they weren't in their little group. I pointed them out to the local PCSOs. If you're not from this country and don't know what PCSO is, you get called plastic bobbies and that. The people who work for the police, they don't have the full powers of the police. In fact, you know, I would say it's wasted money. Pay them more, give them the full training. You need full-on bobbies on the streets. There was nothing they could do. They would stand talking to him. You know, I remember one of them says, what do you want me to do? I said, well, what's your job? You know, you're wearing a badge and all this, but all you do is seem to stand around talking to you. You're not doing anything. Again, just before I left, Little Alton, young lass, I think she was 11, was stabbed by a 13-year-old lass. Happening everywhere. Nothing's happening. National campaign. It has made me very thoughtful these last couple of 3 days. I went out yesterday. I was going to continue the video. I went out the day before. We're going to continue the video. Puts you deep in thought. If you want to comment what you do, ideas or whatever, but it just seems that nothing's going to happen. I don't know. I'm going to leave it there. Like I say, it's quite early this morning. I think it's about 7 o'clock. First time I've had my top on. It's a little cool. Hope you've had the best weekend possible. The missus isn't good at the minute, so I would have been doing a couple of interviews today, but I will get back to it. You know, we're all geared up for October and the like. Welcome new subscribers. I'd like to thank everyone who's contributed to the channel, people who support me on Patreon and people who bought me a brew. Parting shot as always, Stephen. Now then, lad, come here. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. Go on then. Go on then. Thanks for coming. I'll see you.